Nobody will ever know you like I do.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2026 science fiction horror Soulmate. The film is co-written and directed by Kate Dolan and it stars Lily Sullivan, David Rysdale, Claudia Dumit and Artie Fruition. Right, the film follows a character called David. He works for like a tech company that's just been taken over by a big tech company. He does robotics, all this kind of stuff. He's really into that sort of thing. However, he's also had a recent loss in his life. He lost his wife, who died from an illness. So he's kind of withdrawn himself from the workplace and society, works mainly at home, that kind of stuff. However, his new job with this new tech company means he has to essentially go into the office. So he ends up going into the office, he meets his new boss, and he's introduced to this new robot that are called Soulmates. He is encouraged, as well as some of the others at work, to take these robots home to kind of test them out because they're going to go on the market at some point. So David takes one of these home, he connects it to his AI, like soulmate sort of thing, so that the AI soulmate that is connected to on his phone, its personality goes into the physical soulmate doll, if you like. However, with this being a horror, Lily Sullivan, who plays Sarah, the soulmate doll, becomes a little bit obsessed with him, and that's partially his fault because he kind of plays around with the programming of the robot to kind of make it more human-like, but he might actually have made it a little bit too human-like, and this robot becomes incredibly obsessed with David, incredibly jealous, and will go to any length to make sure that nobody else can have him but her. Right, what are my thoughts on Soulmate? Well, this is set in the same universe as the Megan films. It's by the same people that made the Megan films. I suspect they probably wanted to release this in cinemas, but the second Megan film didn't do very well at all at the box office. So this has gone straight to streaming, basically. Did it deserve a cinema release? Probably not, if I'm being honest. After watching this, I don't think this is bad or unwatchable or any of those things, really. But at the same time, it's not what you would either describe as original, this. I mean, a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, it was all the rage, like these pleasure bot type movies were all over the place. They were usually being made with cheaper budgets and that kind of stuff, and it showed. But like these murder bots that start off as like these erotic dolls, and then they turn into murderous bots. And this is, if you like, a more polished, bigger budget version of one of those films. And so you've got that we've had before a few times, so there's nothing new here in that sense. But it's also, as well, I couldn't get away from while I was watching this, it feels like the first Megan film, but for adults. Now, not that the first Megan film was made for kids. It was not exactly what you'd describe as a family film, but the Megan doll was supposed to be, the friend for that little girl in the Megan film. Whereas this doll, not the Megan doll, Sarah, the soulmate doll, is, the companion of David in this film. So it's a more adult version, so you get a little bit of, physicality, if you like, in this, a little bit of erotica going on. Nothing major, not for any of you teenage boys out there to get too excited about. And it's basically the first Megan, like I say. just remade into this version, if you like. Now, for the first half of this film, I didn't really feel like the film offered a great deal at all. I didn't really have a problem with any of the acting or the performances or even the direction or the polish on display and everything. It's all to a good, competent level. But like I say, it just doesn't necessarily feel particularly original, and it goes at a fairly slow pace. It's the usual thing, you know, get this bot home, find out what it's capable of, reprogram it to more what you want, you know, a bit of experimenting with this robot as it gets used to the world around it, blah, 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 so on and so forth. And that goes on for like the first half of the film. When Sarah, this soulmate doll, if you like, starts showing signs of going malfunctioning, I suppose, that's when the film picks up. And it picks up in a way that is quite impressive and surprising, because the violence is on a level I didn't expect. I'm not going to lie. The violence on display here from this soulmate doll that we get on screen is pretty intense, and it's done very, very well, and more violent than Megan, for sure. I would say so anyway. So he's trying to mirror that. He's trying to do, which you would absolutely expect. Like I say, it's set in the Megan universe. It's by the same people, if you like, that kind of made the Megan films. And I'm sure they would have hoped for this to have been, like I say, a cinema hit, but not to be. And there's a reason why this would have flopped at the cinema, because it's too similar to what we've got before. It's not original enough. It's not exciting enough. And the second part of the film, I won't go as far as to say it saves this, but it is far better than the first part of the first half of the film, when, you know, Sarah goes off the rails and starts becoming incredibly obsessed. It's almost as well, you can make comparisons to the Obsession film. You know, obviously that's, you know, between two humans, you know, and the whole, you know, magic thing which snaps a thing in half. It's not the same in that sense, but Sarah, like the soulmate doll, becomes absolutely obsessed with David and will do anything to have David all to herself. So in that sense, there is a level of obsession going on here with this robot. It's just on a more, obviously, different level, techie level sort of thing. So if you can stomach the first half of the film, which isn't that interesting, and it's not, you know, engaging particularly, if you can hang on to, like, you know, when the murder bot, you know, starts happening and, you know, violence starts happening, you probably will enjoy the second half more. I don't think, you know, this is particularly bad, but in any stretch or anything. And you do kind of leave the film with, you know, a sense of satisfaction, even if the ending is a bit bonkers or don't make a lot of sense. And I can't explain why I think that, because it'll put spoilers, but there is like a final scene in the film where you just kind of like, that just wouldn't happen. You just wouldn't. So yeah, check it out. If you are a fan of the Megan films, I mean, I am. I mean, I enjoyed the first Megan. I probably enjoyed the second one more than the first one, but that absolutely flopped at the cinema, the second one. So this is, for me, the weakest of the bunch, but also it's still kind of playing around with similar ideas. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Soulmate, guys. Let me know your thoughts if you're thinking about checking it out, and I will of course be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.